Hey, what's up, and welcome to this episode of EST, the podcast for established church leaders by established church leaders. My name is Josh.
My name is Sam, and all of a sudden I'm jealous of your technology policy at the church.
Well, once you hear how I use it, you won't be that jealous. You might be more jealous of some of my staff, but myself, yeah. We're going to talk about technology policies. Some churches provide computers, laptops. I've heard of churches who provide AirPods and the like. So is it
AirPods?
AirPods. And I'll tell you why. I think that's an okay idea. We're going to talk about that after we talk about our faithful church teams sponsor.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to legitimate uses of technology and using technology appropriately and having exactly what your church needs, church teams. That's who you
right.
need to. Don't listen to Josh. Go to church teams. And we're thankful for church teams. They can help you with a variety of issues. Really, if it's technology related, church management software systems, they do it all. So if you need, someone to help you with, check-in and text to church and online giving, scheduling, they have a solution for you. What I love about what they can do is that they bring it all under one umbrella with best-in-class quality features. So you can get value without compromise, and really this is available to any size church. They've got plans starting at $37 a month for churches under 200 people. So it is inexpensive, but it's also high-tech and user-friendly. And because it's church teams, you're going to get the best customer service as well. So go to est.church, again, est.church. That'll take you to a landing page where you can contact church teams, and they've got a free offer there for you. They're going to give you 2 months free. So really, this is a no-risk endeavor. So go to est.church to go get that free offer from church teams. Thank you, church teams, for sponsoring this episode.
Yeah, that's right. So, all right. So let's just give the lay of the land first on why this is a topic. Some churches, man, I get it. Your budget is tight. You can only budget what you have. But other churches, there is enough funds to consider the idea of technology needs. And we're not talking about software like church teams. We're talking about hardware. We're talking about actual computers and cell phones. And like I said, AirPods or iPads, those sort of things. Are they allowed? Are they valid church expenses? I also want to make a distinction between two kinds of funds that may be in your church budget. One of the funds is just a technology line item. So that's a line item. Our church has that. It's called computers. There's a certain amount of money in there because computers break. Sometimes you got to buy a new printer. Sometimes you got to buy a new scanner. You got, something broke. Peripherals, they call those. Or laptops for new staff people. Old laptops break. That's computers. There's also very often in churches a line item called EBE, or Employee Business Expense. Technically, the idea there is a purchase that the employee needs in order to do their job. Now, most churches I know handle that as essentially part of the package or a perk of the package. Those things are yours. Very often, you can imagine those things being books. So you're going to preach through Genesis.
I need an Aston Martin to do my job. Can I have some of your EBE?
You may. I don't know what that is, but you can have one of those. Let's say you're preaching through Genesis and you need some commentaries on Genesis. You just don't have as many as you need. So you go out and purchase one of those with your EBE, and it's your book. In a couple of years, you leave the church, you take that book with you. You're not going to leave your books here. So that's kind of the difference between EBE. I've seen churches say you've got $500 in your yearly EBE. If you need anything, that can help with it. Other than that, there's no computer line item. I've seen other churches that say, we've got a resources line item, we've got a computer item, there's no EBE. So depending on how you break that down, there are some reasons why you might want to put them in one line or the other.
I want an EBE. That's what I want.
Yeah, because you own it. I mean, there's a benefit to it.
Kevin is the chair of my stewardship committee, and I know Kevin very well. He's actually my accountant. Mm-hmm. Kevin is not approving an EBE for me. I just
He's
know
not going to. No.
No, he's a good
come on,
friend.
Kevin. Give me.
He's actually a really good friend of mine.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'm getting an EBE. I think this is a good topic. I think a lot of our listeners are like, I would love to buy Genesis commentaries,
wish.
With the church budget. I got to use my own money for that. But even at a smaller church, this is still a good question. I mean, even if you're a sole pastor, I think the church should buy you a computer within reason, right? You can't get the $6,000 gaming computer because you like to game. That's inappropriate. But a standard laptop that does basic things should be provided. We provide all of our employees a laptop, and we do expect them to return it when they are done with it or no longer employed. That's not to say they couldn't negotiate, like, hey, can I keep my computer? It's 4 years old or whatever. It's like, yeah, fine. At this point, it's old enough to where you can keep it. But we do expect people to return it. Now, you said something in between shows, because we record a couple of these at a time, that I was absolutely fascinated with. You get a cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I need to go to a rich church. That's what I need to do.
Yeah, well, I mean, at my
I don't get any of this stuff, Josh King.
Well, Kevin, give me a call. So yeah. Now I'm the lead pastor, and so it should go without saying that there are hierarchies, or there's certain tiers, and so not everybody gets the same amount of VBE. Not everybody has the same amount that's paid for their cell phone, those sort of things. But largely, yeah, our staff, our ministers receive cell phones. We do have a policy, and this is what I'm going to try to ask is you don't have to take this cell phone. You don't. You can buy your own cell phone. But here's the deal. If it's the churches, we as a church have a right at any point to take back what is ours and to search what is ours and to hold anybody accountable for what is ours. So there are some benefits in larger organizations to be able to do that. And that's one of the benefits for me, I guess, since I'm the recipient of that sort of thing. There's a benefit. I get a cell phone, but there's a positive wherein there's accountability there. This is the church's cell phone. They can have it back anytime they want, those sort of things. I would say, regardless, if we're going to stick to the computer topic, and I would say even when I was at a much smaller church with a smaller budget, even smaller than West Bradenton, I had a cell phone provided, my cell phone coverage was provided, and my laptop was purchased. Now there, I wasn't able to buy an iPad. I didn't have an EBE, those sort of things. Those kind of things were purchased out of my own pocket. Here's one of the things that I see really go awry with these. I've seen churches that have a computer budget. And so I'm curious about West Bradenton. You buy them all laptops. When they join staff, they get a laptop. When and how does it get updated? If ever.
Well, when I got here, we were running off like Microsoft Office 2000 or something, or XP, and we had our own server room still. That was there's hamsters and wheels that were running the thing. So we're probably not the best example. Yeah. But we have moved to a laptop every 4 or 5 years is kind of where it. Some people like me tend to abuse their computers more. I am on it a lot and I write a ton. So mine tends to get worn out more quickly. Now, in the case of my laptop, my business my Church Answers has provided the laptop. So I just don't use church funds for that. But principle is there. Our full-time staff do get laptops, and we will replace them about every 4 or 5 years, depending on usage.
Yeah, see, I think that's something you need to think about. Not you, the listener. If you're venturing into this idea of, well, we're going to put this computer line item in our budget, it's I don't know, any number I say right now is going to sound exorbitant, but if it's $10,000, you could very easily have a staff person here or there who's paying attention a little bit more than everybody else, and all of a sudden they're just getting a new laptop every year. They're turning in their old one, they're getting a new one. I like to limit that and say you got to keep that one for, let's say 3 years, 4 years, something like that. Let's say it's 4. If you break it before 4, you got to buy it. At the end of 4, you can trade it in, because technology does evolve. So things like the worship teams, they're dependent on a lot of software that is constantly evolving, constantly getting bigger, those sort of things. Those of us on the preaching side of things, a word processor, it just doesn't really, a 4, 5, 6 year old computer still works just as good in a lot of ways than a brand new one. So we try to put those policies in place where you can trade it in and upgrade with whatever, but we kind of, what we've done is we keep it. So there'll be a stack of some nicely used computers, right? And a new intern comes on, or we get a new part-time staff person. We're like, hey, congratulations, you get a 3-year-old MacBook. Here you go. The other thing that we've done is that through Swappa, which is a website that sells used stuff, we will either sell these devices, the old ones on there, or sometimes, here's a problem in one of these situations. I've seen churches that they'll buy a phone for their staff, right? I'm aware of a church, I'll not say the name of the church, but they bought an iPhone for all of their ministers, and they got into the situation where every year the staff were upgrading their iPhones, giving their older iPhone to their wife. Then their wife would give what was 2 years old iPhone to a child, and it would just keep going. So that's one of those things that I want to step in and say, no, here's what you got to make policies. If we buy it, it is ours. So you give it back to us at the end of, let's say that cycle was 2 years. But you might say, yeah, but I'd like to buy it. I want to upgrade, but can I buy that? And what we do is we just go to Swappa, see what the going price is, and say, yeah, you can buy it for that much money. So it helps if you can make, what I'm trying to say here is, I think these policies are good, but what often doesn't happen is that churches don't think through, how do we get out of this? Or this is going to outdate. How do we update it? Is it just, and you may communicate to the person, look, here's your MacBook. That's the only one we're ever buying you. You want another one after that? You're going to have to upgrade yourself or something. And honestly, I don't think that's a bad policy. That's fine. It's actually very generous. But you're just going to need to think through how that works down the road.
So the question is, do you allow for your staff to participate in more satanic endeavors by having Apple products, or do you allow them to be more holy and use Google products? Because I struggle with this with the worship team, because they gotta have Apple. They gotta have Apple.
They do. You know what I did? Okay, coming to second. Well, I won't tell you the name of this organization that I was on staff with. Very, very large organization. And they had a policy where they would buy computers and they'd give it to contract labor. And if you were, and they would ask you, are you Microsoft or are you Mac, right? And I'd had a buddy that started the same time I did. He was Mac. He got brand new, state-of-the-line MacBook Pro, whichever size he wanted, the small one, the big one, right? I said, at the time, now I know I'm Apple, but at the time I was Microsoft.
So you've lost your salvation.
Yeah, I converted. Yeah. At the time I said that, and they sent me this cheap, just a step above a Chromebook, and it was just a piece. And and people were like, look, see, this is how bad Microsoft is. No, if you spend the same amount of money on the Microsoft product that you do on that Apple, you're going to have a great product across the board. And I am all Apple. My family's all Apple. We did that just because of the bullying from the green bubble situation on my son. And I will to this day. It's like the iPhone 15s that just came out. They just now have features that I have been missing from my Samsung phone. Like always on display, USB-C. I've been missing that stuff forever. But Apple is so horrible when it comes to innovation.
Everyone thinks that Apple's like cutting edge, and it's like, no,
It's not.
That Apple is like your older baby boomer mom, and she's just beginning to like learn how to text and stuff like that. That's Apple. People don't realize that. And Apple is like this, like you can't customize it at all. It's just locked into what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's gotten better, and I like iMessage, but yeah, technology-wise, so our policy here is there's a certain brand and version of Microsoft computers, and we just ask staff when they join if they have that benefit. Not everybody has that benefit. We don't buy a computer for everybody, but if they're at that tier, we say, "Are you Microsoft or are you Apple?" And they'll tell us, and we go buy. Either it's either a Surface or it's a MacBook Pro. So that's the two things that you get there.
So let's work through this, because I think a lot of listeners are hearing this and they're going, you get a computer, you get a phone, you get a line item for software, and you can buy like digital books with it and stuff like that.
Right.
Well, here's the deal. Your church may not know to do this, and they may be willing to do it if you ask. So at some point, every church had that moment where they went, we need to get up with the times, and technology is a key part of people's jobs now. In the past, it wasn't. You hired a secretary to type the sermons, right? I mean, it used to be a job.
That's what they did, yeah.
Yeah. That's what a lot of secretaries did 40, 50 years ago. Well, most everybody types their own stuff now. In fact, it's kind of weird if you don't. So, churches back in the day would hire somebody to do what technology does now. So there's nothing wrong with you asking for the technology. Ask for appropriate things, ask for the right amount, with your church budget. But if you need a computer and, your church is willing, then all that you have to do is say, I'd like to put this in the budget. Here's why. Here's how I'm going to use it. And by the way, I know it's yours. If you want tracking software on it or whatever you have to do. So here's the thing. If you don't have any policies, or if nobody's doing this at your church right now, it's actually a really good opportunity to do it well.
Yeah.
So let's take a moment and just talk about that. So let's say you're starting from scratch.
Right.
You have zero of this stuff.
What would you do?
What would you do? Let's say this is a smaller church. This is not some big rich church that hands out iPods to everybody. That one still, I cannot believe that. But so let's say it's like a typical size
AirPods. iPods are
whatever.
Yeah. Here's what I would encourage you to do. Okay, so right now where you're sitting, the staff, the pastors, and let's go ahead and just pretend we're talking about a single pastor-led church, just one staff person that's there. Right now, that person is purchasing their computer or whatever on their own, out of their own money. You don't have to go from, I'm purchasing this on my own to use for work, to I get a brand new one every year. You don't have to go that level. Start with some help. Start with, we're going to budget $500 for this, $250, whatever it is, $500 a year for a computer upgrade that's going to go towards this. Let's say you have 2 or 3 staff at your deal. It's just going to go by hierarchy, or it's going to go by a certain policy that says there's 3 of us, there's $500. You're not allowed to use that more than once in 3 years. So I would just say, hey, student minister, yours is the worst. You get to go ahead and use that $500 this year, and next year the administrative assistant gets to, that kind of thing. So I would say, what's a conducive way to just start? Obviously, you want to get to the point where down the road, when it's needed, it gets purchased, and then there's a policy that says you're not allowed to upgrade it for 2-3 years on this account. You can buy your own computer anytime you want to, but on this account, that's where I would start. But create the policies around it that show this isn't. I'm not just wanting the latest and the greatest thing. I'm needing this to do my job. And I mean, maybe people would argue at that point, every one of my books that I study from are digital. I need a computer to access my books. Our entire church management software, like Church Teams, is available. It's on my computer. In order to contact anybody, it's on my computer. Obviously, email, all of our files, the way that we do our budget, the way that we do our personnel, everything is digital. So for us, it's not nice, it's necessary. There's no way to function on the staff at Second Baptist without being computer literate and to have access to a good one.
Yeah, I like the idea of starting with $500 a year. If you're just getting started, I might recommend $500 per person. If you have a 2 or 3 person staff, and then maybe $500 a year after that for upgrades. I think a computer's a good place to start. The other thing that I would ask for, and this is not technology, but just while we're talking about this, is I ask for funds to take people out to lunch on guests and things like that. So
right.
I think that's and again, that's not really pertaining to the topic of the show. But if you're going to do the ask, if you're like if we're about to this is budget season now, we're right in budget season. So I would say, if you don't have some funds for lunches for guests and church members, you should ask for that, and you should also ask for some funds for technology. You may say, "Man, I just got a new computer." Okay, say $500 for technology and use it to buy Logos or something like that.
Sure.
And just have the church
to upgrade
start
your
doing
package.
things like that.
Yeah,
and obviously build accountability around it. Tell everyone what you're doing. Be on the up and up. All the stuff, right? All the things that you need to do. You're not trying to hide anything. It's just trying to help pastors do their job better. And some people may need a little more of an explanation than others with this, but I think most people will understand the principle here. So you don't get unless you ask. That's the principle.
Here's a tip that might help as well. Let's say that you are hiring. Let's say you're in a position to hire. This is a time to think about this. Perhaps you just created a new position on the church, and you're going to pay that position $45,000 a year. Let's pretend that you go ahead and go to the personnel team, finance team, and say, for this next year, I want to budget $47,000. That way, when the person starts, we can hand them a new laptop. And that might be the policy where you go, this is the only one, you don't get an upgrade on this. This is yours. We will, as long as you, for the next 3 years, if you leave before that, you got to give it back. Something like that. This is your computer. After that, you're on your own. That's just our policy around here. That's the way that works right now. So you could budget that way, but let's say that it's a pre-existing position. It's already been there. You were used to paying that salary, but now there's a vacancy in the salary. One of the ways that you can use the money you're not spending is to set aside a little bit to buy the new staff person a computer or a device or a phone. Those kind of things. If you want to buy those things for them, it will help, but make policies in it. They can't quit the next day and keep those things and walk out. That's still your stuff. That's still the church's stuff. So I would just put some policies in there, making sure they know about it. Let them know it's not an upgrade. Can't get a new one anytime you want. I'll also say, let me add one more thing. And since our show is largely church leaders, if you're at a church that does generously provide computers, EBE, that sort of stuff, let me challenge you, encourage you to be very gun shy on this stuff. You don't need 4 iPad covers out of your EBE. You don't need the latest, greatest keyboard. I want one to carry this iPad cover, and then I want one with a keyboard, and then I want one. Listen, the church should buy you, like, if they are willing to, you ought to charge maybe the standard one that just keeps your investment clean and safe. All that extra stuff, that's on you. You buy that stuff yourself. I've seen so many ministers just abuse this to where I'm buying this. And they think if it's roughly connected to technology, I'm just going to charge the computer line item. No, that's for the intent of the membership, and probably the intent of your pastors and your finance team is that you're using that to buy what you need to do your job, not all the extra stuff you want just to kind of like, I need an extra stand, and I need an Apple TV hooked up to a TV in my office so that sometimes I can project a spreadsheet on this thing. But most of the time, I'm actually watching Final Four. No, you cut that junk out. You cut that junk out. You need to be accountable. And what do you call it? When you're tight with the money, be a little bit more frugal. It's church's money. It's not your slush fund, your expenditure account.
Where would you put an Aston Martin when it comes to frugalness?
What is that? I don't even know what it is.
It's a car.
Oh, okay. Well, they don't make
the Vanquish, the Aston Martin Vanquish. I need one of those so I can get to the hospital fast.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that definitely goes under hospitality.
Is that EBE?
It's benevolence. It's what it is. It's benevolence.
Benevolence. Yeah, oh my goodness.
It's pastoral care. That's what you need to. Yeah.
That's fraud level where you go to jail. That's what happens.
No. Put it under pastoral care. That's what you need right there. Yeah. We're kidding. Hey, don't do that.
Yes, we are kidding. While we're talking about budget items, let's also talk about our new sponsor, Upward. Yes. Because if you're putting your budget together, you certainly need to be considering recreation ministry. Mm-hmm. And Upward is an incredible sponsor to help you reach your community, your neighborhood, and to do it in a way that is fun, exciting, and you get a lot of volunteers involved. That's what Upward Sports does. They equip churches to run self-sustaining sports ministries in their communities. You may be a sports fanatic. You may just be a staff person on a church. Whoever you are, Upward Sports will give you all the tools you need to run a first-class sports ministry that allows you to reach families in your community. Upward Sports offers basketball, soccer, flag football, cheerleading, volleyball, baseball, softball. And they do all this through league and camp offerings. At Upward Sports, we want to help your church make a difference and give you increased opportunities to share the gospel. I can certainly vouch for them. I absolutely love Upward Sports. You need to reach out to them. Go to upward.org/churchanswers. Upward.org/churchanswers. Thank you, Upward, for being our sponsor, and it is a true privilege to point our listeners your way because I believe we only take on sponsors that we believe in, and Upwards, they are the best at what they do. They're absolutely great. Best. So upward.org/churchanswers.
Sam, now that we are connected with Upward, do you think we could get Upward Pickleball going? Do you think that that's a...
I don't know. I certainly I don't. I'm not involved in like the inner workings of their product
above
development.
Our pay grade. Yeah,
but I bet they've had those conversations. I bet they have.
I would imagine so. And if you are the kind of person that loves pickleball, then make sure that you let us know on Twitter, because I know you're just dying to tell somebody about pickleball, because that's what pickleball people do. They are just dying to tell everybody about pickleball. And so let us know on Twitter. We'd be glad to hear it. And thank you so much for listening. Make sure you check out Church Teams and Upwards, and stick around for a special message from Upward. We'll see you next week.
Upward Sports equips churches to run self-sustaining sports ministries in their communities. Whether you're a sports fanatic or on staff at a church, Upward Sports will give you all the tools you need to run a first-class sports ministry that allows you to reach families in your community. Upward Sports offers basketball, soccer, flag football, cheerleading, volleyball, baseball, and softball through league and camp offerings. At Upward Sports, we want to help your church make a difference and give you increased opportunities to share the gospel. Learn more today at upward.org/churchanswers.